come a long way since the dawn of American motion pictures based on Japanese electronic interactive toys. Both games and movies have evolved significantly over the decades of their existence, advancing in their technological capabilities as well as their outreach to inspired creators who want to make something of their own. And by that, I don't just mean how anybody with a phone can make a game or a movie. Oh, pardon me, I gotta take this. No, I'm also referring to the full-time filmmakers and game designers, but they won't be our focus for today, who grew up in the era where mediums like this were booming in the industry, who love Star Wars, Star Trek, G.I. Joe, Transformers, Legos, Mario, and of course our topic for today, Sonic the Hedgehog, and are now grown up and ready to express their love for their beloved toys via a Hollywood budget. I have yet to find any direct indication for this with director Jeff Fowler and Sonic the Hedgehog, but I have no doubt of his love for the franchise considering how great of a video game movie Sonic the Hedgehog 2 turned out to be. While there have been some halfway decent films with the same stories and characters as the games, and I do mean halfway decent, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is the first movie to bring a video game experience into the realm of blockbuster cinema, right down to its scenes surrounding a wedding in Hawaii basically being the equivalent of those cutscenes that a game forces you to watch. Skip! Skip! Damn it. But apart from that, what is it about this movie that breaks the curse that has plagued basically every other video game movie? Well, that's what I'm here to talk about today, as I feel like these two mediums might have more in common than one might think. So, join me today as I dive into why Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is the best video game movie. Video games and movies have their differences, to be sure, but they do have the same goal of getting the player and viewer, respectively, emotionally involved with their experiences, and Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is the first video game movie to crack this code. How did it pull this off? By taking into account that the way we get emotionally involved in a game is in some ways different from, but also in some ways the same as, how we get emotionally involved in a movie, particularly an action movie. Think about one of the best action scenes you can think of. One of my personal favorite examples is the opening action scene from Baby Driver. This is a scene that uses all the senses involved in a movie, mostly hearing and sight, to create an exhilarating experience that gets the audience emotionally rattled and excited. A video game like, say, Super Mario Bros. Also uses sight and sound, but also touch to get its audience, gamers, rattled and excited with its experience. Both of these mediums have different methods, but they have one method in common: the goals. Baby needs to get away from the cops chasing after him. That's a goal. Mario needs to rescue the princess. That's a goal. The big difference, however, is that we grow to like Baby as a character and understand why he needs to escape. We understand his emotional conflict and don't just assume he's a common criminal. This is where adaptations of video games and movies have fallen short. Books and comic books already have character arcs established with emotionally fleshed out characters, and all the filmmakers have to do is pick a style that suits the characters and story, and boom, you have a movie version. My guess is filmmakers have attempted this with video game characters, but characters in video games are designed a little bit differently than characters in books, comic books, or even plays. They're designed to have characters with visual designs you can instantly understand their personalities just enough so that the player will want to play them, abilities that you can understand just by pressing a few buttons, and goals and stakes that you can understand as soon as you start interacting with the environment. You hop on a few of these mushroom-shaped characters, you keep going right, next thing you know you're fighting a dragon in a castle rescuing a princess. Or this annoying guy. 7 times. 7 freaking times! Movies, on the other hand, have to work a little bit harder than that to get us involved with the characters, because how can we be on the edge of our seats in spectacularly choreographed stunts if we're not emotionally siding with the characters? We had our era of simple knight in shining armor rescuing a damsel in distress stories decades ago, but nowadays, movies have to work a lot harder to win viewers over with their characters. And the way Sonic the Hedgehog 2 works around this is by taking the goals that we see Sonic accomplishing in the games, i.e. destroying robots and obtaining gems, and answers a few questions in between the character and the goal, primarily the question, why? Why is Sonic working to obtain this Chaos Emerald? Well, because he's trying to stop Robotnik from obtaining it because he already knows that he's just a power-hungry madman who's going to do crazily evil things with it. Why should we care if Sonic makes it out alive? Well, because he's just a lovable scamp who wants to enjoy himself, and because of his compassion for everyone around him, something that the film takes the time to establish even if you've never seen the first movie. Because these character motivations and connections are established, and we care about the heroes and their goals, it makes scenes like Sonic snowboarding while dodging Robotnik's Eggbots much more exhilarating. It's not just Sonic riding down a snowy mountain dodging and blowing up robots, it's Sonic riding down a snowy mountain dodging and blowing up robots to save his innocent best friend that he spent a good chunk of the previous runtime establishing a connection with. Compare that to this scene in Mortal Kombat. Why is Johnny Cage fighting Scorpion here? We just jump into this scene without any establishment or build-up, no rising emotional conflict between the two, which, yeah, they do that with a few of the other characters, but Scorpion and Sub-Zero are just kind of there because they're arguably the most popular characters. Jeff Fowler even said in an interview that he wanted to treat Sonic 2 both as an adaptation and a movie. And to be honest, doing this with other adaptations of other video games like Mario or Zelda wouldn't be that hard either. These lead characters have a goal of rescuing a princess. All they would have to do is establish an emotional connection between the lead and the princess, and suddenly fighting monsters and exploring castles is much more exciting. Get to work, writers, you have a lot of making up to do. While most video games try to cram the game's blank slate characters into a standard movie plot structure, including the first movie basically being a road trip movie with Sonic as the lead, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 has a particularly unique plot structure that I'm surprised no one else has tried to tackle in a video game movie before. It plays out like levels of the video game where the setting is Earth, which, since some of the environments in the game bear slight similarities to Earth, that's not too unfamiliar. Think about how the levels of a video game typically play out. You start by familiarizing yourself with the environment, then as you progress to basically the next screen, you start running into conflict and you figure out what your goal is. Then as you progress, your challenges become stronger, your enemies bigger, and just when you think you accomplish your goal, you find out there are 7 more levels to go. Son of a... That's basically how this movie plays out. Sonic is comfortable in his environment, then his challenge arises with the arrival of Robotnik and Knuckles, then he finds out that they're after the Chaos Emerald and goes on this quest with Tails to find it first, and as they get closer to the Emerald, their challenges grow stronger and their enemies bigger, and then just when you think they're about to obtain it, Robotnik gets it first. The key difference, however, is it cuts out those other levels and cuts to the final boss as its finale. It's such an accessible concept to grasp that it makes it more frustrating that we've had 30 years worth of video game movies that were either trying to be video games or movies, or, in the case of Movie Bowl, neither one. But considering we've only been attempting to tackle video game movies for roughly 30 years, when film's been around for over 100, it doesn't surprise me that we're just now understanding the similarities between the level structure of the game and the plot structure of a screenplay. Either way, I'm glad that we have what we have now. The last reason why I think Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is the best video game movie we've gotten so far is pretty simple. Just how friggin' weird it is. I know that sounds silly, but most of the video game movies that we've gotten have generally played the safe card. Mortal Kombat came out when martial arts films were becoming popular in America. Resident Evil came out when emo action films were increasingly popular. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, as well as its predecessor, both came out of nowhere, with no established fanbase outside of the game's fanbase and maybe Jim Carrey's fanbase. Which may sound like a lot, but remember, movies are supposed to be universal and accessible, and who statistically outside of the game's fanbase would want to see a blue hedgehog riding an airplane with a red hedgehog and a fox towards a giant robot with a mustache? This is that ancient ritual in Hollywood that's known as a risk. And looking at the film's box office, it's clear that the risk paid off significantly, as people didn't look at it and say, oh, blue hedgehog hunting down emeralds? That looks too weird to me. Instead, people said, oh, a blue hedgehog hunting down emeralds? That's my kind of weird. Most likely because movies based on games have been playing the safe card for as long as they have. There are plenty of martial arts films, adventure films, sci-fi action films, and fantasy films extremely similar to the video game adaptations that we've gotten, but there's only one blue hedgehog, and this movie was not afraid to capture his energy, spirit, and wit that we have loved from the games and grace the silver screen with it. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 gets better every time I see it. It's still not perfect, but it's the closest thing to a perfect video game adaptation that we've gotten. By taking its weird idea and giving it fleshed out emotional conflict and a plot structure that feels like both a game and a movie, it proved without a doubt that a video game movie can come to fruition without resorting to cliché plotlines or characters. And honestly, if other filmmakers would take these lessons from this film and apply it to their adaptations, we could have some great adaptations of Mario, Zelda, Metroid, and if the shared universe concept is still a thing by then, maybe even Super Smash Bros. Whatever the outcome is, we've definitely come a long way from the start of this trend, and we can only hope that it gets even better from here. But what are your thoughts? Do you think Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is the best video game movie? And if not, what do you consider the best and why? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more great content, as I have fresh takes like this every Friday, as well as quick reviews on the latest new releases. I'm CM Waters, and I'll see you soon.